I will now present Palette Documents for you. Palette Documents is a part of the Palette Arena family, but it's not a part of the purchase to pay process as all the other products are. But it can be a help in that process, and I will try to explain what it is and why we developed this product. We have had many customers coming back to us and said, could you maybe also transfer other type of documents in your solution? Could we also add on customer invoices? Could we add on other type of contracts or whatever? So all customers have different challenges and needs. And we have had a hard time to really help them with some of those issues. So that's why we developed the Palette Document solution. So what we do here is to figure out what kind of challenges the customer do have. We will identify the needs, and hopefully those are quite close to the purchase to pay process, because that is what we are dealing with. It could, as for example, be that they would like to create some kind of workflow for not some kind of internal process, and they would like to use our workflow engine in Palette Arena for that. It could also be that they would like to store some kind of documents that is not a contract or an invoice. So we have heard a lot of different needs from customers, and what we then can do is that we can use Palette Documents to maybe help them out here. With Palette Documents, you can store all types of documents, and you can send those into a workflow when we're using our workflow engine in Palette Arena. You could here create your own document types where you set up different rules and index values that needs to be filled in. And that can be, as for example, that you would like to store your employment contracts in here. You would like to set up some kind of approval process when you would like to apply for a credit card. Maybe you have some warranty documents that you would like to store in the solution somewhere, or you would like to set up a process when you need to add a new supplier. So if you are requesting for a new supplier to be set up in the ERP system, maybe that needs to be approved by people in the organization before we do so. So many different type of documents and process that you could add on into here, and you create then a document type for each and every of those needs, and you set up different rules for each and every of those needs. Palette Documents can also be integrated with all the other modules. So you could link, for example, a document in Palette Documents with an invoice, or with a purchase order or a contract. Just to give some examples here, let's say we have this with the application of the credit card. And when I have that approved, then we could link that to the user within Palette Arena. So we can see that this user has asked for a credit card. Now it's linked, and then also link it to Palette Expense, where we have the credit card registered. We also have an API for Palette Documents, so we can import information from other sources. It can be some kind of capture solution. It can be an ERP solution or something else. And then we can import information and generate then a document within Palette Document. But I think that the best way to learn Palette Documents is to actually see the system. So I will now give you a demo of Palette Documents. Let's say we have a need here to set up a new supplier within the system. Somebody would like to buy something from a new supplier, and then we need to have a flow for that, an approval process for that. So we start to create a document type, and document types and request for new supplier, it's already set up here. I created a document type that we will use for this process. And the document type is to set up the rules and the workflow part of this request. So I've given it some kind of information and name in the header. Who is responsible for this document type? That's the administrator. I also have a flow, that is the default flow that will be set on all documents that we set in, all the requests that we set into the system. And in this case, I don't need a document, because there is a big difference with the storage part and just the workflow part with Palette Documents. It's not every time you need a document. I think you will understand it later on when I show you. And then we have the fields that are specific for this type of flow. If somebody would like to request for a new supplier, we of course need to know some information about this supplier. So we have some headings, and then I would like to know the name of the supplier, of course, and that is a text field. I would like to know what type of supplier this is. That is also a text field. You can here select different type of index. It could be in heading, it can be text or an integer or date or whatever you have here. The next part is that I would like to know the reason for why we need to set up this new supplier in the ERP system. So I will ask the user to fill in some description of the reason, some information. Why do we need this? I also want someone in the organization to check that this is a valid supplier. So I've done a checkbox saying, okay, could you please check this is a good supplier? And before we start working with the supplier, it would be good to have a contract in place. So somebody maybe needs to sign some kind of contract with the supplier, and so on. So you create the fields that you need to be able to have an approval process for this request. I will come back to this view soon, but first I would like to show you how this will look like in real life. So let's say I am now the IT manager. An IT manager have a need to start buying things from a new supplier. So what he will do is to go in under Documents and create a new document. He will then select the request for new supplier. He can only see the document types that he have access to look at and work with. So request for new supplier, and it will open up a form. In this case, the document image is not needed, so I can actually take that away so it will not disturb us. Do like this instead. First of all, the system have now created a workflow, because when I are requesting to set up a new supplier, that needs to be handled by the finance department. So first, accounts payable need to do some things, and then we also have the CFO to say yes or no to this. So that's the workflow that we are creating. And then I need to fill in some information. So I request for a new supplier to be set up. And then I have the index values that we just looked at on the document type. So first we need to know the name of the supplier, and let's take Canon. We used that before, we can see that. So Canon, we don't work with them at this time, but I actually would need to have them set up. The VAT number, supplier is this. Hardware supplier. Description, the reason why do we need this? To buy a part of hardware that we cannot buy from anyone else. So that's my need. That's the description of the reason. We also have this with the if it's a good supplier to work with, and if we have a contract. Well, I don't know that. That's not my part to deal with right now. This is just my request. I would like to start with the supplier, and then I say good. I sign this off, and it will be sent to accounts payable. Accounts payable logs in, and he will then see that he have a document that needs to be approved or handled, and he can then open up this to review this. We have a need here to set up a new supplier. Reason is maybe good enough, and okay, I can do a check of the supplier so that they are solid. And when I've done so, I could maybe check this. I could send it to someone else that they are going to sign a contract with a supplier, or we say no, it's just this time we don't need a contract, we could just start buying from them. So depending on what type of supplier this is. It might be that we have more people in the workflow or not. But for now, I just say, okay, yeah, I've done this, and I sign this off, and it goes to CFO. And then CFO will get the document, and then it's okay to set the supplier up in the ERP system. And then we can start buying from that supplier. So that's one example of a process you can use Palette Document for. Okay, let's look at another example. It could also be some kind of document that we would like to have stored in Palette Documents. It could be, let's go back to my documents and create new document. It could be that I would like to store some kind of warranty document, some safety sheets around some products that we have bought. It could be some kind of complaint document that I would like to have stored in here. And it will look pretty much the same. I will search in a report to find some that's already created. So report and show document. And let's see what we have. Here, warranty document for IKEA kitchen. Here we have the documents. That's the main thing here. We don't need to have so many index fields. We don't have to search for so many different values, but we would like to have the document stored. And then you add the documents as lines. And you can add as many documents as you like in here. And then I can see that, okay, yeah, here is the warranty document for the IKEA kitchen that we bought at this date, or the warranty due date is that date, and so on. And let's look at this in another angle as well. That document that we just looked at, that we have received that when we bought a new kitchen. And that kitchen actually also generated an invoice into the solution. So here we have the invoice from IKEA for that specific kitchen. Let's open up that. And here's the invoice. And then I can see that there is actually a document linked to this invoice. And I can review that document. It could be more than one actually, but now it's only one. I can open up this document from the invoice. So this is how you can link the Palette Document solution to the purchase to pay process. You can link documents, you can link processes to some other part of the solution. So now we can trace this back. We can see the invoice, we can see the warranty document that is connected to that purchase. And then I can go back to my invoice. I said in the beginning that I will go back to the document types again, so let's do so. So now when you have seen some example of documents that we have created and processed in the system, I think it will be easier to understand the document types. So let's go back here and we can take another example. We can take the credit card application. There is actually not a document that we are going to add on here. Or maybe it is, but we don't have to. But here, once again, we would like to have the process. We would like to know the name of the person who is applying for that credit card, that company card. We would like to know what type of card it should be. And there we have added a list actually. If we are using many different, you should maybe not do so, but if we are, you can add on the list Amex, MasterCard or Visa, whatever they prefer. Maybe we can add on that they can set a limit, what they would like to have, and here you can also add on some predefined values, what limits they need to have. If it's a corporate company card or if it's with private responsibility for payment of the invoice. That's a very good thing to be able to set up then, a process for that. And who needs to approve when somebody's requesting for a corporate company card. If we look more into this, you can set if a field are going to be mandatory or not. You can set up some validation rules to checking that this is actually the information is correct. You can also set if this field should be used in reporting, and I will show you what I mean with that. But when you do this, you can search on that field, and you can use as a filter as well. And then you can set the order in how they should show for the user when they enter a new document. And the last field here is an index ID, and that is used when we are importing information into the solution. I will not go through that into this introduction, but you can learn more about that in the training session. So index ID is to import values from other sources. So some more information about the document type. But let's round off this session by looking at the reports. Now when we have so many different type of documents stored in the solution, and not only documents, but processes and documents, we need to have a way of searching in the archive. So then we have this show document report, where you can do some selection on all the header information with some dates and so on. You can search on who has been a part of the flow and so on. And you have the index values down here, all the things that we have added. And that's, as is right now, just a value field where you can search for all documents that contain some kind of information around Canon. But to do a more specific search, I can go up here and start by entering a document type. Request for new supplier. And then if we go down here, we can see that all the fields that we have added as index fields to that document type will be possible to search on. And that's why we did that tick with searchable in reports. Search, and then you get up the information. And you can then open up and look at that document. So to round off this demo, Palette document is not a part of the purchase to pay process. It is a part of the Palette Arena family, and it can be used for processes and documents that you have around the purchase to pay process. So that's a short introduction, and you can learn more about Palette documents in our Palette Academy training. Thank you for listening.